I swear, if that smug clown had opened his mouth one more time, I would have laid him out so hard he'd forget how to grin. We were at some fancy dinner I never even wanted to go to. Turns out, it was a setup from the jump. The place was all dressed up, candles, wine, the whole date night vibe, but it wasn't for us. It was for him, Troy Maddox, my wife's so-called coworker. He was already sitting there when I showed up, dressed like he was trying out for some muscle supplement ad. Tight black shirt, sleeves hugging his biceps like they owed him money. He had that smirk on, like he owned the whole restaurant. And there was Tessa, my wife, planted next to him with her hand just a little too close to his leg, laughing way too hard at whatever garbage he was spewing. She told me we needed to have a serious talk over dinner. I thought maybe, just maybe, she wanted to work things out. That was my mistake. She looked up, all sweet, and said, "Colton," like we were on a game show. "This is Troy," she said, pointing across the table. "You've heard me talk about him." Yeah, I'd heard. More than I ever wanted to. The mentor. That inspiration. The guy who understands her. Should have seen it coming. I sat down, forced to smile. But my fists were tied under the table before I even got comfortable. Then he leaned in, locked eyes with me like we were about to draw pistols at high noon. "I'll make this simple," he said, all slick and rehearsed. "You've got two choices, Colton. Walk away quietly, or face me like a man." Tessa didn't blink. She just smiled. That was when my ears started ringing. I couldn't hear anything but my own blood pounding like a war drum. I kept hearing his words over and over, walk away quietly, or face me like a man. He thought I'd fold. Thought I'd just walk out and leave everything behind so he could play house with my wife. Instead, I took a breath, smiled back, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "You want your teeth whole or in pieces?" Then I stood up and drove his face into the table. Plates flew. Wine spilled across Tessa's white dress like it was blood straight from a fresh cut. The room erupted. People were screaming. Troy tried to get up, but I put him back down with one clean shot, fist to jaw. Years of betrayal behind it. Every cold night, every lie, it all came out in that punch. Tessa shrieked, clawing at my arm, trying to drag me off. "Colton, stop. You're embarrassing me." Embarrassing her. After she paraded me in here just to toss me out like trash. Security stormed in, pulled me away. I walked out with blood on my shirt, glass in my knuckles. Troy was still laid out on the floor, wheezing, his big, alpha, energy leaking all over the tile like a spilled drink. Outside, I stood there in the cold, staring at the door as it shut behind them. The rage had faded. All I felt was this heavy silence. And one bitter truth, she didn't bring me there to talk. She brought me there to watch me lose. That wasn't the beginning of their affair. That was the final act. She'd written the whole play, start to finish, and I was just the fool who showed up for the curtain call. Tessa used to look at me like I hung the moon. That night, she laughed at me while eating lobster. But that moment, it didn't break me. It woke me up. Because I realized something, this wasn't the end. Not by a long shot. When I got home, the place felt off. Not physically, nothing was moved. But the air was different. Her perfume hung in the hallway, but there was something else underneath. Something heavier. Musky. Arrogant. I went straight to the bedroom. The bed was made tight, hospital corners, neat like a damn hotel. Tessa never made the bed like that. I sat down, hands still raw from punching Troy. My mind was spinning. That dinner scene kept playing over and over. His smug little face. Her cold silence. The look she gave me as security pulled me out, like she got what she came for. My phone buzzed. A message from her. "You didn't have to do that. You embarrassed yourself." "No, are you okay? No, can we talk?" Just cold blame. That's when something in me flipped. I stood up and started looking, not because I was suspicious anymore. I already knew. I just needed proof. Something I could hold. I went to the closet first. Nothing at first glance. Then I saw the shoe rack. A pair of red heels I'd never seen. Expensive. Flashy. Tessa hadn't worn heels in months, not for me, anyway. Next stop, her vanity. I opened her tablet. She never bothered locking it. Thought I trusted her too much to look. She was wrong. The first photo hit me like a truck. There she was, half-dressed, snapping mirror pics in some hotel room I didn't recognize. The timestamp said last weekend. She told me she was in Sacramento for Lacey's baby shower. I swiped again. There was Troy shirtless, brushing his teeth in the background. My breathing went shallow. My eyes started to burn. There were videos too. Messages. Some were voice notes. His voice was low, calling her his little secret. She giggled like a teenager. In one of them, she even called him daddy. I almost hurled the tablet through the wall. They weren't hiding it. They were laughing at me. One message stuck out. She told him, he still thinks we're just going through a rough patch. Per baby. Per baby. That one cut deeper than any punch I'd landed on Troy. Suddenly, everything made sense. The late nights at the office. The girls' nights out. The sudden effort she put into her looks, while barely brushing on makeup for me. The distance. The eye rolls. The deep sighs when I tried to touch her. She'd left the relationship long ago. She wasn't my wife anymore. I was just the stand-in. A ghost in the house she only pretended to live in. The next morning, she strolled in like nothing had happened. Hair tied up, sipping coffee, glued to her phone like I didn't exist. I was already at the dining table, staring at her. She looked up. What? I said nothing. Just slid the tablet her way. It was open to the messages. Her fingers froze mid-scroll. She stared at the screen for a long second. Then looked at me. Why were you snooping through my stuff? That's what she asked. No apology. No denial. Just shifting blame. I leaned forward. You lied. You gaslit me. You humiliated me in public. You brought him into our lives and treated me like garbage while sneaking around behind my back. And now you're upset I found out? She shrugged. You've been boring for a while, Colton. You stopped trying. I needed someone who made me feel something. My jaw tightened. This is what you picked? A flexing meathead who can't finish a sentence without posing? She smirked. At least he listens. At least he doesn't make me feel like I'm wasting my prime years waiting on someone to change. That's when it hit me. She never really loved me like I loved her. She loved the idea of me. The man who built the life. Paid the bills. But once things got routine, she got restless. I stood up, walked to the bedroom, and started throwing clothes into a duffel bag. She followed. You're just leaving? That's it. I zipped the bag. You already left. You just didn't tell me. As I passed her in the hallway, she muttered something under her breath. I stopped. What? She looked me dead in the eye. Cold. No shame. You were never man enough for me. I didn't say a word. Didn't react. Just walked out, bag on my shoulder, leaving the woman I once loved in a house built on lies. But deep down, I knew I wasn't finished. Not even close. That night, I moved into a short-term rental. 4 walls. No memories. No trace of her. Just silence. And that silence was suffocating. I couldn't sleep. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw her. Her face. That smug little grin when Troy ran his mouth at the restaurant. The way she looked at me like I was nothing more than background noise. I kept hearing those messages. Her voice wasn't the Tessa I married. The woman I married wanted a future. Talked about dogs. Kids. A home. This one whispered filth in another man's ear. Laughed at my texts. Mocked everything about me. Said I was soft. Predictable. Told him I was the kind of guy who'd die paying off someone else's mortgage. And he replied, good. We'll let him. That wasn't betrayal. That was erasure. For 3 days, I ignored her calls and texts. She never once apologized. Not once. Just lines like, you overreacted, and we can be adults about this, and let's talk terms. She wanted to turn our breakup into a spreadsheet. No guilt. No remorse. Just cold negotiation. On the 4th day, she showed up. I opened the door. There she was, wearing her best innocent disguise, sweater, jeans, no makeup. Like the girl I once proposed to on the beach in Carmel. Can we talk? She asked. I stepped aside. She came in, crossed her legs, acted like nothing had happened. You've had your tantrum, she said. Now we need to figure out next steps. I leaned back against the counter. You're acting like you didn't blow everything to pieces. She sighed. It wasn't working. You were distant. You stopped seeing me. I laughed, sharp and bitter. I saw you every day. I tried. But instead of talking to me, you ran to some gym rat with a 6-pack and the brain of a toaster. Don't be dramatic, she said, rolling her eyes. It's not like I planned it. No? Then explain the hotel stays. The lingerie I never saw. The videos on your tablet. Tell me why he thought he had the right to tell me to leave my own marriage without a fight. Her lips twitched. You're acting like I committed a crime. No, I said, stepping in closer. You committed a damn assassination. You killed the man I was. And you didn't even bury him right. She stood up, sudden fire in her eyes. I needed more. You didn't give it. You just existed, Colton. Came home, watched TV, stayed the same safe, boring guy I married. So instead of fixing it, you screwed around and made me think it was my fault. She headed for the door. You always had to be the victim. Maybe if you'd been more of a man, you'd still have a wife. I stopped her. No, I don't still have a wife. I never had one. I had a parasite. One that smiled while it drained me. She turned back, face dark. You think you're the only one who suffered? I wasted years pretending I was happy, Colton. You didn't pretend, I said. You lied. Then she said it. Like she was talking about laundry. I've been with Troy for 6 months. And you know what? I feel alive again. There it was. The truth, 6 months. Every kiss, every night I asked what was wrong. Every time she turned away in bed. While I planned our anniversary, she was booking hotel rooms. While I worked overtime, she was moaning someone else's name in my car, my bed, my life. I didn't yell. I didn't break. I just nodded. Good, I said. Then you don't need to know what I did yesterday. Her eyes narrowed. What? I pulled a folder from the drawer and dropped it on the table. Inside, bank records, screenshots, transfer logs from our joint account, her secret credit card, hotel receipts, a transcript of her and Troy talking about hiding money. I'd hired someone, an old friend, ex-cop. No questions. Tessa went pale. Colton, what is this? I looked her in the eye. Evidence. I'm filing for divorce. I'm taking everything. And your alpha is going to learn exactly what happens when you push a quiet man into a corner. She reached for the folder. I yanked it back. We're done. Leave. Her lips trembled. For the first time, I saw fear. But it was too late for that. Too late for anything. I had the truth now. And I found the man I used to be. The one who trusted too easy. Who waited around for love to come back. He died at that restaurant table. The man standing now, he was someone new. And he wasn't finished. 3 days later, Troy showed up at my job. Bold move. Real, alpha, energy. He waited outside the parking garage like he was in some bad movie, leaning on his black Dodge Charger, mirrored shades on, smirk locked in. I could tell he wanted some phony man-to-man talk. Maybe sneak in an apology without owning anything. But when I saw him, my blood boiled like it hadn't since high school fights behind the bleachers. Colton, he called, all casual, like we were old friends. I didn't answer. Just kept walking. You got a second? He asked, stepping into my path. I stopped. Gave him a once-over. He wasn't worth it, but I couldn't just walk past him. Not after everything. What do you want, Troy? He shrugged, playing it cool. Look, man. I didn't mean for things to blow up. Thought she'd end it clean. Didn't think she'd drag you into that dinner mess. You figured, I repeated. You figured you could slide into my wife's life, into her bed, and I'd just vanish? He raised his hands. I get it. You're mad. But she made the call, too. I stepped in. She did. And so did you. So whatever dream you had about replacing me, forget it. You're not the alpha. You're just the side guy who got cocky. His smirk slipped a little. You should know. She's thinking of moving in with me. Good, I said. She'll look real nice next to your ego and your protein tubs. His jaw twitched. You don't scare me, Colton. Then you're dumber than you look, I said, voice low. Because you should be. He clenched his teeth. This doesn't have to get ugly. You crossed that line 6 months ago, I said. When you started talking about options. Then I said it again, cold and calm. You want your teeth whole or in pieces? He flinched. Not much, but enough. I saw it. Underneath all that gym muscle, there was fear. He wasn't built for this. He was built for selfies and likes. I turned my back and walked away, knowing full well my fists weren't the damage anymore. The real pain was still coming. Back at the rental, I sat down, opened my laptop, and started combing through everything again. The documents, the timeline, the evidence. My lawyer was already putting the case together, and the more we uncovered, the faster her little fantasy world fell apart. Tessa had used our joint money for weekend trips, bought Troy a watch with my card, even tried to stash cash under her sister's name. She got sloppy. She got greedy. But what hit me hardest was how easily she flipped the switch, how she could lie, smile through it, and still act like I was the one who wronged her. Every message I dug up, every receipt I printed, felt like another nail in the coffin of the woman I thought I married. Later that night, she called. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Colton, she said, softer now. Less bite. What? I didn't think you'd react like this. Like what? Like a man who got used? Who got stabbed in the back and left to bleed while you played house with your gym buddy? I didn't mean to hurt you. Yes, you did. You just didn't think I'd fight back. Silence. I could hear her breathing. He's not who I thought. she said finally. I stayed quiet. I thought he'd be stronger. Protective. Translation, you thought he'd clean up the mess for you. Another pause. I made a mistake. I shut my eyes and shook my head slow. No, Tessa. A mistake is forgetting my birthday. A mistake is snapping in a fight. This? You built this. Lie by lie. Week after week. Bed after bed. You just didn't expect me to tear it all down faster than you stacked it. She tried to talk again, but I hung up. I didn't need her guilt. Didn't want her sympathy. I'd already wasted too much of myself trying to live in the version of me she created. She made me doubt everything. My worth. My gut. But standing there, with the evidence in my hands and the rubble of our marriage behind me, I felt something clear. Clarity. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was about taking back my name, my peace, my dignity. She could keep her gym clown. I had something better, freedom, and I was going to use it. The divorce moved fast, probably because she didn't want the details spilling into court. Thought she could scare me into settling, make herself out to be the sad wife who just fell out of love. But the moment my lawyer dropped the files, money trails, messages, everything, her whole act crumbled. She didn't cry, didn't get loud. She just switched to business mode, like she was salvaging a failed deal. One last meeting, formal and quiet, with a mediator. She wore a navy suit, no makeup, trying to look respectable, like she hadn't been caught naked in hotel mirrors. I barely looked at her. At one point, she leaned over and whispered, "Why are you doing this? You're humiliating both of us." I kept my voice calm. "You're not ashamed of what you did. You're just ashamed people know." She leaned back, face stiff, and didn't speak again. When it was done, I walked out with my name clean. She walked out with her reputation cracked, and her gym boy waiting in the car, texting her like a lost dog. I thought I'd feel good. I didn't. There's no trophy for getting betrayed. No finish line for surviving someone else's lies. Just emptiness. And after that, the rebuild. The nights hit hardest. Not because I missed her, but because of the silence. The space where her voice used to be, even if it was fake. The sheets no longer smelling like her. Catching myself about to text her something dumb. Only to remember she was probably busy making protein shakes and bad choices. I started going to the gym, not to be like him, but because I needed a place to throw the anger, the bitterness, the grief. Somewhere it wouldn't drown me. The more I lifted, the more I found pieces of the old me. The real me. Not broken. Not bitter. Just me. One night, a buddy convinced me to hit a bar. I almost stayed home, but something told me I needed to get out. That's where I saw her. Not Tessa, her sister. Sienna. She walked in with a few friends. Froze the second she spotted me at the bar. Then, slowly, made her way over. "Colton," she said. "Wow. I didn't expect to see you here." "Neither did I said. She looked down at her drink, then back up at me. "I heard everything." "I'm sorry." I nodded. "Don't be. You didn't cheat on me." She gave me a sad smile. I tried to talk her out of it, you know? When I found out, she told me to mind my own business. Didn't shock me one bit. Sienna tilted her head. "You doing okay?" I shrugged. "Some days better than others." She leaned on the bar, watching me. Tessa always needed attention. Had to win, didn't matter what it cost. I looked at her. Did she ever love anyone? For real. Sienna stayed quiet for a long beat, then said, "Only herself." And somehow, hearing that made it easier. Later that night, I walked home under a quiet sky. The air felt clean, like something toxic had finally burned off. And for the first time in months, I smiled, and it wasn't forced. Not because I won. Not for revenge. Just because I finally felt peace. And nothing, not Tessa, not Troy, not even the version of me she broke, could take that away. About a week later, I got a message that stopped me cold. It was from Troy. Started with, "I need to talk." Man to man. I almost laughed. The same guy who told me to leave quietly now wanted to meet like we were equals. My first instinct was to block him. But curiosity's a hell of a thing. I agreed. Public place. Neutral ground. Chose a small coffee shop out near the edge of town. He showed up late. Slower. Less polished. Hair messy. Bags under his eyes. The smugness was gone. He sat across from me and didn't speak for a full half-minute. Then, I think I made a mistake. I didn't say anything. "She's not what I thought," he said. "I mean, she's beautiful, yeah, but she's..." He struggled for the word. "Poison." I leaned back. "Welcome to the club. She used to talk about you," he went on. Like he had to get it off his chest. Said you didn't care. Said you ignored her. That you hadn't touched her in months. I nodded slowly. And you believed her? He looked away. I wanted to. There it was. He needed me to be the villain so he could feel like a savior. Like he was rescuing her from a dead marriage. Truth is, he was just the next chapter in a book she never stops writing. She's already seeing someone else, he said, eyes down. That made me pause. Wait, she's cheating on you? He nodded. The shame on his face was thick. Met him at yoga. Some guy with a boat. She denies it. Says I'm paranoid. But I know the signs now. The late nights. The new lingerie. The girls' weekends. He looked at me. It's like deja vu. But this time, I'm you. I wanted to feel smug. Wanted to say I told you so. But all I felt was tired. You played your part, Troy, I said quietly. Now you get to feel what it's like on the other end. He rubbed his face. I don't think she's capable of love. She's not, I said. She's only capable of attention. And when it dries up, so does she. He didn't answer. Just sat there, staring at the mess he helped create. I stood. Good luck, man. I mean that. He looked up, confused. You're not mad anymore? I was, I said. But anger's heavy. I've carried enough. I walked out. Sun hit my face. Warm. Clean. Felt lighter than I had in months. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years, sat on my porch, barefoot, bourbon in hand, no noise but the wind. No phone. No lies. No masks. Just me. It's strange. Betrayal feels like death when it lands. But later, it feels more like a beginning. A hard reset. Tessa called once after the divorce was final. Left a voicemail. I never listened. Deleted it as soon as I saw her name. She didn't get closure. Didn't get the last word. That was mine now. I started traveling again. Weekend trips. Hikes. Picked up old hobbies I let die trying to keep a marriage alive that was already long gone. Reconnected with my brother. We hadn't talked in over a year because Tessa claimed he drained my energy. Truth was, I just saw her clearly. Sienna texted now and then. Nothing heavy. Just a quick check-in. A joke we both remembered. I appreciated it. She never pushed. Never asked for details. She just let me breathe. One night, she sent me an old Christmas photo. Me, Tessa, the whole family. I stared at myself in that picture for a long time. That smile on my face. The way I held her hand. I wasn't pretending. She was. That's the difference. I've learned not to grieve what never really existed. The love I thought I had. The marriage I believed in. It was real for me, not for her. And that's okay. Because now, I have something she never will. Peace. Accountability. A soul that didn't rot when the lies came crashing down. She's probably still out there chasing that high. That worship. That next guy who thinks she's the answer. Until he sees what's behind the smile. But me? I'm building again. Brick by brick. And this time, it's solid. A few months passed. The seasons turned. I stopped counting days. Just small wins. Waking up without that knot in my stomach. Eating without tasting metal. Sleeping through the night without her voice haunting me. Then one morning, I opened my inbox and saw her name. Tessa. Subject line. Please, just hear me out. I stared at it for 5 minutes before I clicked. Colton. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. I wouldn't be writing if it wasn't important. I messed up. I see that now. Troy is gone. He left after I found out he'd been cheating. And now I'm alone. I've had time to think. About everything. Us. What I did. I don't expect forgiveness. But I need you to understand. I was lost. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just wanted to feel something. Anything. And now I realize the only time I ever felt truly seen was when I was with you. You were always there. Maybe I didn't appreciate it then. Maybe I was too blind to see how rare that was. Can we talk? Just once. Please. Tess. I read it once. Then again. Then deleted it without replying. Because here's the truth, she didn't want me. She wanted the version of me who hadn't learned how to live without her yet. The man who bent. Who shrunk. Who gave everything just to keep her smiling. But that man died the night she tried to humiliate me like I was nothing. What she missed wasn't me. It was the comfort. The safety. The cleanup crew. She didn't miss love. She missed being adored. Big difference. By then, I was already seeing someone else. Her name was Ivy. We met by accident in a bookstore. I dropped a copy of The Stranger by Kim O. She picked it up, looked at the cover, and said, heavy read for someone with kind eyes. We talked for an hour. Then coffee. Then walks. Then nothing for a while. I didn't want to rush. I told her I had scars. She smiled. Good. Scars mean you're healing. She never rushed me. Never pressed. Just showed up, steady, kind, real. With Ivy, it was easy. No masks. No fear I'd never be enough. She barely mentioned Tessa. Only once, when my phone buzzed and she saw my whole body tense. You don't owe me the story, she said. But if you ever want to tell it, I'll listen. And I did. Eventually. On a quiet Sunday, while rain tapped the windows and her hand rested in mine, I told her everything. Not for sympathy. Just to let it go. Ivy didn't say much. Just listened. And when I finished, she said, that wasn't about you. That was her broken reflection, looking for a mirror. That stuck. One night, I found myself driving past the old house. Ours. Back when it felt sacred. It looked small now. Faded. Tired. The lawn was overgrown. Shutters hanging crooked. Like it had given up trying to look presentable. I didn't stop. Just kept driving. And I smiled. Not out of pride. Not because I'd won. But because I'd survived. Tessa once told me I was too soft. That I couldn't handle chaos. That I'd fall apart without her. But I didn't. I stood tall. Scarred. But steady. The storm came, and it passed. All it did was clear my view. Now I see clearer. I trust deeper. I walk stronger. I laugh harder. Funny thing, losing everything teaches you what real looks like. Like mornings that start with silence and coffee, no tension. Evenings with someone who speaks softly and means every word. Love, real love, doesn't show up screaming. It walks in calm and stays when the noise fades. It was a crisp evening, sky deep blue like velvet, air sharp with promise. I sat on the balcony of my new place. Smaller than the old house, but warmer in all the ways that count.